Welcome to the Refine and Shine, the podcast dedicated to mastering the art of continuous improvement and optimizing every aspect of your life. I'm Angelina Rivera, your host, and together we'll uncover the secrets to refining our lives, our habits, and our processes to unlock our inner brilliance. Join us on Refine and Shine, where we'll delve deep into achieving more in life without the burnout and without all the stress. This podcast is your platform for a more fulfilling life through continuous improvement and personal growth. In each episode, I and a diverse array of guests discuss practical strategies for up-leveling every aspect of your life. From developing good habits and organizing your space to refining your mindset and personal goals, we're going to explore it all. Our guests share personal stories about the systems they've developed or systems they've used and the tweaks they've made in their lives when refinement was needed, allowing them to truly shine. Listen to Refine and Shine to learn how you can implement continuous improvement techniques in your daily routine, develop and maintain healthy habits that lead to success and satisfaction, organize your life to reduce the stress and increase your productivity, foster a growth mindset that propels you to new heights. My mission is to inspire you to take bold action, make positive changes, and become the best version of yourself. Whether you're aiming to elevate your career, nurture meaningful relationships, or enhance your overall well-being, Refine and Shine is your guiding light. With over 25 years of experience in continuous improvement, I help businesses streamline their processes, establish efficient work areas, and implement standard work protocols. I have trained over 600 individuals and teams in process improvement, optimizing workflows, and enhancing overall operational efficiency. Tune in every week as we embark on an enlightening journey, exploring paths to refinement and illuminating the way to shine in every area of our lives. Subscribe now and join us on this journey to polish your life and let your best self shine through. Thank you for joining us on Refine and Shine. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Refine and Shine podcast. I'm super excited about my guest, and I know I always say this, but I actually physically met her last year in May at an event, and we actually were staying in the same Airbnb, and we just really connected. But then, and we stayed in touch through social media. But then I got to spend more time with her when we went to another event where we actually were roomies, and just getting to know her has been so amazing. And so I'm super excited. This is a long time coming because schedules are crazy, but we finally made it work. And so today's guest is Stacey Vanthuyne. She is an executive coach. She is a speaker, performance consultant, and the founder of Raise Your Results and Xposed Living. She is bold, unapologetic, and on a mission to help high-achieving leaders and teams create more wealth, more freedom, and more impact. She challenges outdated beliefs about success, especially for Gen X and Y leaders, to break the rules and lead from their vision, not their past. With decades of experience as a corporate leader, single mom, and entrepreneur, Stacey brings powerful tools, unfiltered truth, and a contagious energy to every room she enters. She's also the host of Xposed Living, Breaking Rules, Building Freedom, where she gets real about leadership, money, relationships, and midlife reinvention. Her message: you are the limit and you are the solution. So thank you, Stacey. I'm so glad you're here today.
I'm happy to be here. You are one of my favorite people, so I'm excited for our conversation. They always go deep and in places where I feel at impact. So thank you for all that you do.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And so one of the things that we connected in our conversations is just you tell it like it is, right? And you made a leap not that long ago, or I don't even know how long ago it was, but you went from corporate to I'm going to just run my own business and I'm going to work for me. And so Can you just tell us a little bit about that background and how you came from where you were to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. I made the leap. I think a lot of people have made this leap, but from a place of like lack, I'm not happy, I'm stressed, this isn't working for me, and I want to try something different. And my experience in corporate was a little bit different. I actually loved corporate. I was in people leadership, change management for over 20 years. The thing that had me yearning for more though was impact. I could create impact within the teams that I led. But when I would switch roles or talk to people outside of my company, I found that a lot of them weren't happy. And I was blessed in my career to work for some incredible leaders, some incredible companies, GE being one of them, that really increased my awareness of what it really takes to build a culture that's engagement and has performance at the center of it. And yet I was afraid to leave secure businesses with a pension, especially as a single mama, to go and consult. And what ended up happening for me was about, now it was like exactly 5 years ago, my paths crossed with Bob Proctor. And when I first met Bob, I shared with him my love for people and change management and transformation. And he said, "Well, it sounds like you want to be a consultant." And I said, "Yeah, I do." And he said, "Well, go be one." And it was just kind of this wake up call for me to be like, oh, that's as simple as it is. Is just make a decision and do it. And it really was that. And so I made a decision at that time to invest significantly in myself, to learn more about mindset and not just approach change from, ProSci or Six Sigma, which I'm certified in, but also like more deeper than the strategy, because that's what I saw in companies that were so focused on the strategy that people get left behind. And so a lot of people will just wait until kind of a change in leadership or something doesn't work before they decide, or decide not to change, and then they just kind of get caught in this, what's the flavor of the month, where I really wanted to go and help organizations and people that once you've made a decision to change, that it's not just the strategy that needs to be leveled up, but how you show up, your attitude, the standards, the supporting structures and systems that are around there. And that was kind of my decision. So I thought that I would do them both in tandem, continue to work in my corporate job and kind of on the side, build up my business. And honestly, I thought by the time I'm 50, I will leave. Well, I turned 50 just a few days ago. Depends when I'm listening to this, or maybe a month or two ago. But I turned 50 this June. And I can say for the last 3 years, I've been working on my own and making this my permanent way of living. Because what I've come to learn through it all is it does start with the decision, and we do have to see ourselves differently. And as long as I kept one foot in corporate and one foot out, I still wasn't 100% in what it is that I want to create and the impact that I want to do. So I jumped.
I love how you shared that. And we've had those conversations, being both you being in Six Sigma, me being in Six Sigma, me being a black belt. And there's a change, and you do this strategy, you have this project or whatever, but then as people come in, managers change, they don't sustain it. And that's the thing that you want to make an impact, is to lead that sustainable, or lead and just to make people happy, and not the negative, and like you're stealing what they're trying to do, or you're changing things, and who are you to change, and all of those other things, making them work on their actual mindset. And I think that that's so important. And that is something that a lot of managers, I've been in corporate for a long time. I've been in manufacturing for now 27 years, and lots of different leaderships, lots of different managers. And it's like, you want to give them a book and say, hey, this is how to lead. Because they don't work on the mindset. It's just like, do as I say, not, and all these different things. And I'm so glad that you are now coaching from a different aspect and being like, hey, we got to work on these, areas. And so I think that's so important. But I know that it wasn't always easy, right? And now,
No.
from making the decision 5 years ago and then 3 years full on out, but it's probably, it's not always all the ups and downs. So like, tell us how it's been for you.
You know what? I'll answer that by talking to what you were just kind of talking about around leadership, because I think a lot of people go in thinking that it's their role to manage and take care of people, but we can't lead people if we're not leading ourselves. And so, even how it's been for me, there are ups and downs every day. And what I think is missing in companies, and even with people when they want to change, is that we're making the decision and whether or not it's feasible from looking at our present results. So we have to have that vision of what we want that's so ingrained in us that that's the reason, that that's what keeps us going. And that if we can see it on the screen of our mind, then it's only a matter of time before we bring into our present reality. But I think a lot of companies ultimately are made of individuals. So individuals, let's just say people, start to look at things from today's results. So then they say, well, this is not possible because this is where I am. Well, where you are today is only based off of yesterday's thinking. So you're right. If we don't level up and upgrade the way we think and approach a situation, we will continue to get the same results. But if I love to teach that we live from the goal. And so I think what's missing when we talk about these change things and why people, different managers or leaders, I believe they're one and the same. If you're an effective manager, you know how to lead yourself. And there's times where you use different ways of saying it. But leadership in itself is, if you're not speaking to the vision to your people every day of why we're doing what we're doing, then we get lost. Because then people will say, they'll hire me to build resilience within companies. And they'll say, well, we don't need to talk about goals. We know our goals, but we really just want your support in building a culture of resiliency. Well, why would people be resilient to overcome the challenges if they're not in love with that goal, if they're not talking to the future state and living from the goal? And I think a lot of us, we work towards a goal. And when we work towards a goal, it's such a slight thing, but change starts with our communication, is that we're still separate from it. But when you as a leader can embody the person and the thoughts and the feelings and the actions of the person with the goal achieved, then you come from a different place to lead and motivate and share things back with your teams. And so with me, as far as like, how's entrepreneurship going, it is a daily reminder to myself of what is the impact I'm sharing. And then how do I need to show up? How do I need to show up? If I want my business to be XXX, do I act as a person that doesn't have it, or as the person that does? And I think that's what happens within businesses, is that we've got to help people to adopt the identity, adopt the attitude that the goal's done. And then we show up differently because we know that the goal drives the process. So if you're not in love with that goal, then again, why would you become resilient? Why would you change your confidence or your skill set? And so that's my passion, is helping people to, one, get clear with the vision, be able to articulate that in a way that resonates with their teams, and then start to adopt the standard within your culture today, because it's that culture that drives the story that drives the identity of the people that have to show up. And then there we get our results. So I remind myself every day that I live from the goal. And it's a challenge not to look at my present results and then make a determination of how well I'm doing, but it's just a reflection of what I've done in the past. So this is where we have to make a different decision to think, feel, and do different and embody the person right now, regardless of our results.
I love that. And we were talking before we even started recording, is that she is actually training for an Ironman. And when we connected in January, which is when she made the decision that she was going to do this, she was waking up early, even if we went to bed late. And this is a person that's like, my goal is, her goal, remember, is that she's an Ironman winner, right? She's a finisher, right? She's winning the race, this challenge. And when she looked at her training, she thought, how am I going to pull from these hours? How am I going to make time for this thing? But she had that thought for a minute, and then she said, this is the goal, and I got to act, I got to be in the present with this goal, and is making the time. I mean, wake up, you'd run a 6K, or a 10K, you do whatever you needed to do, and you were very rigid. And then there were times when we would come home or come back and it would be late at night, but you were rigid. You'd wake up, you do the things you have to do. And I think that, with you having that mindset and showing up for who you want to be today for the future is so important, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I agree. It's been interesting because my whole life I've identified as an athlete. I taught aerobics early. I swam through university. Once my kids were born, I continued to teach aerobics and run. And it was just this year that I fell in love with the new goal of, oh my gosh, I'm going to do a half Ironman. And as I said, I turned 50 and I was like, I need a stretch goal, so to speak. And it's been very interesting for me to increase my awareness and reflect back on this, because there's been goals that I've set. And if you're around me and stuff, you know that I love to set goals that we don't know how. It's not for us to determine the how. If you know how to do your goal is too small. Like, there's no expansion and growth in that. And the intention, I believe, for all of us is for further expansion and growth. We're spiritual beings, our souls are in our essence. And so when we start to feel stuck, a lot of times it's because we don't have a goal that's bigger than what we need to do. Goal, objective, people use different words for it. So it's interesting because I set a very lofty goal for my business when I left corporate. And I'll be honest, I haven't hit that goal yet. I'm moving closer every day, but I haven't hit it. And there's times where I wake up and I'm just like, boy, like, I'm normal. I can start to self-doubt. And I think what's powerful about mindset is we shorten the refractory period. You don't sit in it, right? We're like, damn, that thought's not going to help me. So switch to what it is. But I share that because when I locked in to doing this half marathon, or half Ironman, it wasn't that I want to just finish. Like, I want to be in the top 10. And as I've started training, and I get scared to share this sometimes, because I think to people like, who are you to think? Is your first one and that's your goal? Yes, this is my first goal and I want to finish on the podium. Now, whether or not I get there, I will release that. But in order to do that, then I have to have a time that's at least under 5 hours and 30 minutes. So the reason I share this, though, is because I can tell when I'm locked in, because there are mornings, like you explained, that I don't want to get up. But I know that the woman that's finished an Ironman under 5.5 hours, or half Ironman, would do that. The goal drives the process. So it's been really interesting for me to say, like, Stacey, why are you willing to do and go outside of your comfort zone with this goal? But there's been other goals that I've set for myself that I haven't been as apt to going outside of my comfort zone and doing. And so it's allowed me time to reflect and say, one, is that goal really what I really want? And if not, what is it? And two, really, there is no other two. Two, if I was locked in, like, then I haven't made a decision. I think a lot of us say we've made a decision, but if we're only allowing ourselves to take action to the place of our comfort zone, it's not a full committed decision. And to create the types of transformation that you and I are both so intently focused on for people, for business, for our own selves, we've got to have an unwavering commitment to it. And then when it comes, and other people may say, well, that's rigid, that's disciplined. No, that's a desire. So I don't even feel like it's rigid. I don't, because I know that in order for me to hold my hands up as I cross that line and be under that time, I have to do that. And I want it. And so I will. And so, really, if you find yourself really struggling to do the activities that the goal demands, I think it's an opportunity to ask ourselves, do I really want this? Or is this what I think I should do? Or does somebody else want this for me? And that's why I'm doing it. And if not, it's just an opportunity for us to reflect and potentially reevaluate, um, is this the goal? Because my coach would always say to me, you got to make your goal your love story. And I was like, man, I've been single and divorced for over 10 years. What are you talking about, love story? Like, I've been having the best luck in love. And then I got it. And I was like, oh, this is what he's talking about. So if you find yourself sometimes stuck, that's a great opportunity, not to like shame or feel good about it, but to explore and expand your own awareness and to ask yourself, what is it that I want? Because I promise you, when you can lock into that and make that your love story, you absolutely will create the discipline, the identity, the attitude that's required to do it. So it's been really interesting for me on this journey.
I love how you keep bringing up the word you have to decide. And then if you're not in love with it, then maybe it's not the right goal, or you need to like really reflect that. Because when we decide on something, it means to kill off other possibilities, right? I mean, that's what it means. And if we're starting to think like, oh, maybe that's not it, then maybe we need to do that reflection. I think it's so important is that we could have these big dreams, and want to be these things. Like a long time ago, I wanted a goal to be to work a certain position where I was at. And then I left that job, and now I'm like, wait, I never even wanted that. Now that I've made the choice, like, is that really what I want? And then you really reflect and like, no, I want to go bigger and better. And you have to make those decisions. And once you've like, oh, this is not the career path I'm chasing, I'm going to chase something else, then all the other opportunities open up because you already made that decision and you're looking for the other opportunities. And I think that's so important. I also loved how you said with the person who finished and at this, certain time on 5.5, under 5.5, and is on that podium, would they slack on waking up or slack on working out or doing this, structured routine? Like I ran over 50 half marathons and marathons. I've done two whatever they're called. Triathlons.
Triathlon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done two of them. And you're right. Like when I did my first one, I didn't train. I didn't train the way I wanted to, and I finished dead last. Dead last. I finished, but I was dead last. I never even used my bike. I had just bought it a week before. It was a mess. It was a bad bike. But the next year, when I got the right bike and did the training and everything like that, cut my time in half. And that's the difference. It was, are you doing it in, half-ass, or are you doing it all in? And that's how we need to look at our goals, is like, if we're doing it, we're not doing it to the full potential, or we're not waking up and like, okay, this is my goals, this is the impact I want to make. If I want to be the #1 podcaster, am I like sharing my podcast? Or am I, sharing the reels or doing all these things? Or am I just like, oh, hopefully somebody will find me and download my podcast? No, you got to be out there and sharing. And that's what with our goals, you have to be bold. You have to tell other people that you're doing this stretch goal, which I think is important. What a stretch goal is, it's something that it's not something easy. You have to work at it. You have to take in making sure you're doing the reps. And I think that's important as well.
I love it. I love it. You're 100% correct. And I love the way you made decision. It means the death of anything opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we go. We're like, well, we're in at 70%. 70% in is still 100% out. Like, in order for us to create the transformation that many companies and or individuals want, we think we can do it in our comfort zone. And yet we hear that. Like, a lot of us know, we've read books. But like, I think this is why I'm so passionate about helping Gen X and Gen Ys to create that transformation that they want to continue to live a fulfilled life. Because I think a lot of us high achievers have felt that at one point in time. We know that feeling. And then what we want a lot of times, if it's not something that we can plan for or exactly know, then we think that it's not for us. But yet, if we actually reflect back into how we got even to where we are, we didn't necessarily know how we were going to do, but we believed it. So, word you used was hope. Like when you hope just to finish, you will just finish. But when you know with certainty, and that's living from the goal, and that's why it's so important, not just to read it, but to embody it today as already finished, then your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real or imagined. So it starts living your future today. And you don't chase, you attract the necessary resources, you attract the knowledge. And when you don't have the knowledge, you look for those people that have that specialized knowledge to be around you. And that was critical for me, even with this training. Like I'm not doing this on my own. I have a trainer. I have, a massage therapist. I have a chiropractor. I have like these different elements because I'm also aware that, I can't, if I'm training 10 to 12, 14 hours a week on my body, I've got to take care of my body and treat it in a way to be that. And so it's not about, well, once I'll do this, then. No, it's now. And then you put that commitment to yourself. And I already see myself as, crossing line, which is quite, I guess, in the Ironman world. So if any of you listening today have finished an Ironman or half Ironman, it's quite a thing, as they say, like you're not, their culture says that you shouldn't wear something that says you're an Ironman finisher until you are. And I kind of want to disrupt that a little bit because in my mind, I already am. And if I don't believe I can, then I'm still wishing and hoping, So it's kind of funny because my trainer, I'm like, I'm wearing the Ironman socks, so you can't have them till you finish. I'm like, says you, but that's not my belief. And my belief is I can do it now because I already see myself as that. And if I didn't, then I'm not falling in love with it and making it already part of my identity. And I think that that's why, people hear about, oh, it's so important to do affirmations or visualizations. And then they say, don't know why they do or don't work. Well, they work if you embody the feeling of them now, because again, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real or imagined. And until that belief is planted in your identity that is in your subconscious mind, then you continue to act in alignment to whatever the old one was. Knowledge is not enough. Knowing is not enough. If it was, we'd all be achieving our goals. I say that to people all the time. It's like, if you could get your goal being who you are today, you'd already have it.
Mm-hmm.
So it is about getting outside. And it's important that even as you and I know this, that we continue to remind ourselves, because those paradigms and those beliefs are sneaky. They come up. And I'd say, back to when I left corporate to be an entrepreneur, I had leveled up my identity. But if I stayed there, then I would just continue to get those same type of results. I'd make the same money that I was making in corporate. Well, I wanted to earn more money. Well, then that's a level up of belief. That's a level up of identity. That's a level up of attitude. So it's been interesting, because the thing that I've come to learn, the most impactful thing, is that there's no end to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so even when you know the information, that's where I believe every coach should have a coach. Everybody should have a coach, because
Mm-hmm.
if we could do it on our own, we would have it. And it doesn't mean that there's something wrong. If anything, it's like that something's right, and you get a community of people to lift you up. So I just think that that's so important, because outdated thinking keeps us high performers stuck in this safe, even though our souls are crying for more. And then we, go drink wine, or we shop, or we gossip, or we do things that tries to like satisfy that soul, but it's not. Or we use excuses that we're old. And, for me, I just don't believe we outgrow our dreams. I believe that we bury them under beliefs. And I believe that God wouldn't give us a dream that we can't do. But it's not just because he gave us a dream that's going to happen. That's us making, again, that decision to go over it. And I love what you say, become a braver, bolder, and more authentically aligned you.
Yes, yes, I love that. There's so many great things that you said, and it's this thing. I love how you said, like, God wouldn't have given us this dream or this vision, and if it wasn't meant for us to do, but we have to do the work. And I love how, like you also said, is that there's going to be doubts and stuff, and there's going to be all these things, but you can't sit in that. You have to just push it aside and know, like, have that vision, have that feeling that you're already a finisher, that you're already achieving it because of the whole subconscious and all the thoughts and stuff. So, if people say, like, oh, I'm always going to be, poor. Well, let's look at your spending habits. If you're constantly spending for needs of satisfaction, yes, you're always going to be poor. But if you start to look at your plan and your budget, like, what is it? Do you have a goal, or, these things that you want to, achieve, buying a house or all these other things, then you need to work on that. But, it's things like that. Like, you have to, like, act as if you're already there. If you want to be rich, I'm not saying go spend everything. It's saying you got to have the money in the bank account. You got to look at your habits of spending, all of these other things. So I think that that's important.
I love the topic around wealth, right? Because it is. I think that so many people, we're afraid of what we can lose. We can measure what we can lose, but we can't ever like see right now what we can gain. And that's where, those quotes around faith and fear both require us to believe in the invisible. Why are we so more prone to believe in the fear of it than lean in and have the faith of it? And it's not saying it's going to happen when or how you want, but I think we just are so used to controlling things. And so when we're looking for transformation, we have to like lean into that faith and knowing, and you can't get that without repeating it to yourself and without believing it and living it from the end. And wealth, I mean, if we consistently look at our bank account to make our decisions, then we will never have more. Bob would always use this example of these people that said, hey, Bob, I want to buy a new house, but I don't have the down payment. And he said, well, why do you need the down payment? You haven't made a decision to buy the house. Make the decision and it will follow. And it's true, like even when I reflect back into my life, like when I make a decision and I want to do it, I will find the resources. to create it, right? Like we've all been there. I'm sure, well, maybe not everybody, but maybe people listening to this podcast have been there where you don't know how that next paycheck is going to come in, but you find a way, because when your back's against the wall, that like beast within your alter ego comes out and figures it out. Well, imagine if you lived like that every day. Like that's
Yeah.
why we can each do 10 times better, 100 times better, just being who we are. And I love that. So I'll often ask to my clients, who's that alter ego of you that lives boldly? And I don't want to say fearlessly, because I do believe that fear is always there, but you embrace the fear because you really come to understand that everything you want is lying on the other side of that. And our thoughts do become things, and our energy does go to where we focus on. So to your point, if you're consistently looking at what you don't have, or that we don't have enough money, then that is what's going to expand. That's where we're going to see it. But if we start being grateful for this, and even thanking for the, praising that the money's already flowing my way because it's in energy, then so it will.
Mhm.
Right. And it's not teaching you to be reckless, but it's teaching you the energetics of money. Any good book around money doesn't talk about the investment, it talks about you.
Mhm. Yep.
Right. And so this is where it's so important. And I get really passionate around that, because we weren't taught about that. And a lot of us Gen Xers, if we came from baby boomer parents, they saved. I don't even have to finish the ending of these quotes, and you can say them with me, right? Money doesn't grow on,
Trees.
exactly. Better to be safe than.
Sorry.
And yet it's not true. It's true for you if you want to believe, but anyone that's made a difference realized that the biggest fear or the biggest risk we can take is not taking any risk at all.
Mhm.
And I just think that that's exciting, because that literally shows us that we're tapped into infiniteness, and the only thing that's holding us back is our own selves. So get out of the damn way and let's roll.
Yeah. I love that. Yes. The only risk we take is just not doing anything.
Yeah.
Just staying in the same place and letting what God put on our hearts die within us because we were too scared to take the action.
Right. And then our attention's on our own selves, right? Versus when we start to take action because we know that it helps others, which ultimately I do believe everybody wants to get some type of impact.
Mhm.
And the only thing that stops us is when we get more concerned about what other people will think, or how will this be perceived, or whatever, then that limits us. But our attention's on us versus the people that we want to serve. And again, it's just about bringing awareness, because a lot of people say, "Oh, Stacey, that's not realistic." Well, realize what's realistic to you is only in alignment with the current beliefs you've had, and we each have the ability to reevaluate our beliefs. And just because we believe something in the past doesn't make it true to date. And nobody who's doing what you want has any more special powers than you do. They would just have a different, habits, disciplines, and attitude towards it. That's why I love talking identity and leaning into that, because how we perceive ourselves sets our results. And so many people say, even myself, like I always talk back to when I got divorced. I wasn't happy, and I wasn't courageous enough to share with my partner really my true feelings. And if somebody would have told me in that time that I lacked confidence, I would have told them that's not true. I would have been like, are you kidding me? Like, I work full time. I have a great career. I'm taking care of my girls. I've got great friendships. I still, work out, do these things. My confidence is great. And it wasn't that I lacked confidence for my current results, because that's what set them. But I didn't want to be in the marriage anymore. And so I lacked a self image that I was worthy of wanting more, that I had to stay here when I really didn't. And I looked outside of myself and, would get the support of friends, or in my case, I had a fair, which I never regret, because it made me become alive and see that I was worthy of more. But I regret the hurt, the pain, the frustration, the shame, the guilt I had, because I didn't find that within my own self. And I think that this is a a challenge for us in relationships too, right? We're looking for somebody else to fill a gap that we've got to be able to fill ourselves. And that comes to self-image. So it's a big part of what we go through with transformation and ageless living and building cultures is like, you're worthy of that. And if you want it, all you have to do is make a decision and then take the different action that's required. So it's not about grinding, it's about growing, it's about expansion, and it's about awareness.
Yes, I love that. And as we start to wrap up, can you just tell people a little bit about what type of coaching you do?
Ah, well, I like to say it's around transformation. I mean, it's about where you want to create more in your life, whether that's improved your relationships, improve your health, improve your financial situation, because I really am a strong proponent of how we do one thing is how we do it all. And I know even as my own self, I'll share back to the goal of business versus fitness level was, there be times in my business where I feel like I'm procrastinating on something. And take my podcast, for example. I'm finally launching it, but I've wanted to do that for a long time. Why didn't I? And so I would say, oh, I'm procrastinating. No, you know what? I've let that go because I've demonstrated in fitness, I'm actually not a procrastinator. When I have a goal that I love and I want to do it, I take action. I don't procrastinate. I do it now. So then now it's about building that image and that identity in the other areas that maybe I'm not taking the right action. Maybe I'm not feeling as secure with myself. So I help people to understand why we do what we do and why we think what we think, and that there really is no limit to what you can create unless you don't take the time to focus on what's actually behind the behaviors. A lot of us want to just focus on the behavior. If I just don't eat or if I go to the gym, then I will lose weight. Well, you might for some time, but you won't sustain it if you don't go back to that subconscious mind and readjust the beliefs and the identity that are truly driving your results. So a lot of my coaching is really around that. And I would cause it in like 5 R's as far as like we reevaluate, we get really honest with what's no longer working and what do we want. And that goes into the second R of like reimagine, starting to give yourself permission to dream again. I know when Bob asked me, what is it that I wanted? I started to talk about my kids and what I want for them. And he said, that's a great dream for them. But what about you? And I was like, holy shit, me, because I just got lulled in that if I just work and I retire and then it'll be all imagined. But it's not about that. It's like, what do you really want? And once we reimagine, then we can start to reignite because like I said, that want is starts to build into a desire. And desire is like that rocket, like that propane to the rocket ship, right? Or the gas or fuel to light it
Mhm.
up. And so then once we have that of where am I, what do I want, what beliefs do I need to change, we start really going into this renew and ultimately into revitalizing our lives. So that's kind of the coach I want is if for people that are high achievers, know that they're made for more, have created like probably what they wanted already, but now just have stopped dreaming. And I feel like anybody, if you're making 50,000 and been at that amount for a while, or making 500,000 and making it that month, you're both in the same spot, right? We both feel the same way. It's not about the money. It's about how you're feeling and are you continuing to expand and express. And so if you want some help in, dreaming with someone without judgment, letting go of the fear to lean into it, then give me a shout. I'd love to dream with you.
I love that. I love that. And I will make sure that I share in the show notes on how to connect with you and everything. And but now that we're everybody's heard this amazing podcast of all the great things that we've talked about, and I think we've got some great amazing tips. But one of the things I love to ask my guests is, what is a word, a phrase, an action, a quote, something that they can do today in order to refine and shine?
There's simple ones, and I think that we overcomplicate change And because we give ourselves excuses, is why it's hard. But embrace the hard, embrace the suck. Do it now. Don't get going on too many things. And I've been guilty of this. I'm like, I'm gonna do this and this and this and this, and you're just starting to spinning your wheels. But focus on one belief, just one, for like a quarter, and reevaluate that journal, meditate, affirm it every day until it becomes harder not to do than to do. Then you know it's part of your identity. So the two that I'm working on, and I feel make the most important, is do it now. So you get that intuitive nudge, do it now. And you may not understand why, and you may flub up, but you know what? You do it once and you suck, and every time you do it less, you suck less. So do it now. It starts just being who you are. And when you do it now, that adds so much belief to yourself. You know, people, I don't think we understand the harm and even pressing snooze on our morning alarm, because you're telling your subconscious mind, you're giving it an out. And you're saying, then you want to do something really challenging, and your subconscious mind says, you couldn't even freaking keep to your alarm clock this morning. How are you going to go do a half an Ironman or whatever it is, right? So keep the promises you make yourself, do it now. And the second one is, my favorite quote was, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So just like when you get that doubt, recognize it's not fear that is our enemy, it's doubt. It's doubt and worry, because when we don't stop it at doubt and worry, whatever impressed on the mind must be expressed. So we engage with doubt and worry, and then it's expressed as fear. We'll flip to the other side and start to engage in understanding and awareness and a knowing that ultimately leads to faith. And I think that really are the game changers for me.
I love that. So many good tips. And I just love this. I love everything that you shared. So thank you so much. Like I said, I'll have all the info to follow you in the show notes and how to connect with you. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Refine and Shine. We hope you find valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey of continuous improvement. Remember, the key to success lies in refining your processes and letting your inner brilliance shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and helps us reach more listeners like you who are eager to refine and shine in all areas of life. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and additional resources and behind-the-scenes content. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to reach out with any suggestions, questions, or success stories you'd like to share. As we wrap up, remember that the power to transform your life lies within you. Keep striving for growth, embracing change, and seeking opportunities to refine your skills. Together, let's continue to shine bright and make a positive impact in the world. Until next time, keep refining and keep shining.